This is Namibia, one of the least densely populated countries in the world. Namibia is located in the southwestern part of the African continent, bordering the likes of Angola, Botswana, and South Africa. With a population of just 3 million people, this beautiful country has so much to offer. Namibia is renowned for its vast deserts, rugged peaks, and a stunning coastline known as the Skeleton Coast. It is also home to the oldest desert in the world, the Namib Desert. From the moment you arrive in the country, you will notice the German colonial influence and the ever-changing landscape as you travel from the sandy coast to Etosha National Park, where you will meet the majestic animals like the lions, elephants, and the elusive cheetah. Allow me to give you all of the information for this unforgettable trip to Namibia, tell you how to book your accommodations, and give you some of the tips I've learned throughout my journey. I will also share my 10-day-long itinerary for this unforgettable adventure. Before coming to Namibia, you'll first need to figure out how to get there. Windhoek is the country's capital and largest city, served by major airlines such as British, Ethiopian, and South African Airways. Depending on where in the world you'll be flying in from, you'll most likely connect through one of these major hubs like Frankfurt, Addis Ababa, or Cape Town. Once you land in Windhoek, keep in mind that the airport is located about 45 minutes from the city center. If you are renting a car from one of the companies I will talk about later in the video, they will provide transportation for you. Otherwise, you can hail a taxi and expect to pay around $50 one way. Another tip I have for you is to not exchange your money at the airport. Wait until you get to the city center and exchange for a better rate there. Throughout my stay in Namibia, I rarely found the need to use cash, as most places, including souvenir shops, took major credit cards. Next, we need to talk about transportation. Namibia is a large country, almost twice the size of Texas, so having a reliable transportation is key. Renting a car is really the only way to explore Namibia because it gives you the freedom to go wherever you desire. There are a few reputable companies I would recommend in Windhoek: Savannah Car Hire, Explore Namibia, Go Rent Namibia, and the one I rented from was called Namibia To Go. I will leave a link to these car rental companies in the video description below. Depending on what kind of car you decide to rent, you can expect to pay anywhere from $50 for a basic car all the way up to $120 for an off-road beast. I personally recommend renting a truck with a rooftop tent that comes fully equipped with a mini fridge, a kitchenette, picnic tables, and chairs. This is perfect for camping or simply going off the grid for a little while. Later in the video, I'm going to show you some of the incredible campsites I had stayed throughout my time in Namibia. Another thing worth pointing out that many roads outside of the main highways here in Namibia are gravel, so you'll want that truck with grippy off-road tires for a peace of mind. And when you get to Sossusvlei, you'll understand why renting a truck was a smart choice. Before I lay out my 9-day travel itinerary in which I saw some of the most breathtaking landscapes here in the country, I want to tell you about accommodations here in Namibia and how to book them. Most of my stays here in Namibia I have booked through bookings.com website and paid anywhere between $50 and $70 per night in bigger cities like Windhoek and Swakopmund. Depending on your travel preferences and style, Namibia offers some fantastic lodges throughout the country, but these can get quite expensive. So if you're on a budget like me, I'm going to tell you about some amazing campsites you can book throughout the country. But first, I recommend checking out Gondwana Collection. They are a great resource for booking beautiful stays here in Namibia, car rentals, and they even offer tour packages. Now for you budget travelers, I want to turn your attention to Namibia Wildlife Resorts or NWR website, where you can book campsites, particularly in Sesriem when you are heading to the dunes in Sossusvlei, or Halali Camp inside of the Etosha National Park. The campsites I have visited were very clean, quiet, and most importantly had hot showers. There are also small shops on site that had everything you would ever need for your camping adventure. I hope that by now you feel more confident about booking your trip to Namibia and know what to expect. So let's talk about travel plans. When you first arrive into Windhoek, I recommend spending some time exploring this capital city and getting to know the culture and the people that live here. I recommend you begin your day at sunrise in one of my favorite spots in the entire city called the Three Circles Viewpoint. It is located very close to the city center and you can walk or drive almost to the very top of the overlook where you'll see some very cool artwork and murals, but most importantly an epic sunrise or sunset. After spending some time at the Three Circles overlook and admiring the Windhoek panorama and the beautiful mountains in its backdrop, you can walk down to the most beautiful church in the city, Christokerk, which was a gift from the Germans. Right next to it, you'll find the Independence Museum where you can learn about Namibia's fight for independence. And just around the corner, you could visit the Tintenpalast, a beautiful building that houses Namibia's parliament and its beautiful gardens out front. Another place you should not miss when visiting Windhoek is the Namibia Craft Center, a 2-story building which houses beautiful souvenir shops from local artists, and keep in mind that everyone here accepts credit cards. For a more comprehensive insight into things you can see and do here in Windhoek, head over to my Namibia playlist. After spending some time in Windhoek and getting to know the city and learning about the country, it is time to hit the road. I hope you filled up on some food because my itineraries combine few nights camping under the stars with some hotels and lodge stays. Namibia is a vast country and the places I have visited throughout my stay here are spread throughout the country, so give yourself a spare day in between locations for the drive because trust me, the views along the way will blow your mind. Once you leave Windhoek, it is about a 4-hour drive to reach Sossusvlei, the getaway to Sossusvlei and Deadvlei. Along the way, you will pass through amazing scenery, and about 3 hours into your drive, you will reach a small, almost abandoned-like town of Solitaire. I recommend stopping here and admiring all the old cars as you pull into the gas station. Be sure to check out the bakery right next to the petrol station. They have some amazing apple pies. Continue for another hour until you reach the town of Sossusvlei, the last town before entering the Namib Desert National Park, home to the oldest desert in the world. You should also know that there are 2 gates into the park. The first gate is located just outside of Sossusvlei and open at 6 a.m., while the second gate opens at 5 a.m., giving you enough opportunity to catch the beautiful sunrise at the dunes. So it is important to stay within the first gate, and I recommend staying at the Sossusvlei campsite, which you can book on the NWR website. From Sossusvlei, it takes roughly 45 minutes to reach this famous spot. While driving to Sossusvlei, you will pass by many incredible dunes. Dune 45 is a popular stop as it is both very picturesque and a much shorter hike to reach the top than the Big Daddy Dune. From the top, you can admire the incredible landscape of the Namib Desert. The main area that visitors and photographers come from all over the world to see is Deadvlei. This area was once an oasis with pools and trees, but for hundreds of years this area has been left to dry, leaving behind this clay pen with petrified acacia trees that are over 500 years old. I should also note that the last 2 miles of the road prior to reaching Deadvlei is extremely sandy, so unless you have a driving experience in the sand and have an off-road capable truck, I recommend paying one of the shuttle drivers to take you there and back. Trust me, you do not want to get stuck here overnight in the sand as the help might not arrive for hours or even days. Upon reaching Deadvlei, you will need to hike about half a mile to reach this iconic viewpoint. As you look around, look to your left and you will notice a tall sand dune piercing the sky. That's the Big Daddy Dune, one of the tallest sand dunes in the world. It took us about 2 hours to reach the top while climbing on its sandy ridges, but the reward at the end is totally worth it. Another place worth stopping to see in the area is the Sossusvlei Canyon. It is located about 5 kilometers from the Sossusvlei entrance to the park, and the admission is free. You can actually hike into the canyon and explore this extraordinary geological feature that was shaped by the Chahao River millions of years ago. We're now going to drive north towards the coastal town of Walvis Bay. To reach this town from Sossusvlei, it takes about 4 hours, driving through Namibia's rugged desert landscape. I really enjoyed this drive and made plenty of pit stops along the way to enjoy this otherworldly landscape. When you reach the coast, you have 2 options of where to stay. You can either stay in Walvis Bay or Swakopmund. The towns are located within 30 minutes of each other, and any tours you decide to do over the next couple days can pick you up from either city. Walvis Bay is much smaller and cheaper, while Swakopmund is larger, which means it's a little bit more expensive, more popular, but also has a wider variety of hotels and restaurants. I had spent a night in each of these cities, one in Walvis Bay and one in Swakopmund, and I can honestly say I enjoyed both of these. On the first day of my adventures on the coast, I booked a tour to see the famous Sandwich Harbour, a place where the dunes meet the ocean. I booked my tour through Viator, which gave me lots of options, reviews, and the flexibility to cancel if any of my plans were to change. I would highly urge you to consider a full day tour as the fog from the ocean hovers over the area often until the early afternoon, which would mean if you were to do a half-day tour, you would miss on all the views that the tour offers. The full day tour can range anywhere from $150 to $200. Our amazing guide Rudy was a local who had lived in the area for over 20 years and throughout the tour told us incredible stories about the skeleton coast, the dunes, and the wildlife here. Riding up and down the dunes, driving right next to the ocean requires some serious skill, and Rudy made this one of my most memorable trips ever. Our tour finished around 4 p.m. which gave us plenty of time to drive over to Swakopmund and enjoy a nice dinner with incredible sunset views. The following day, I began by exploring the town of Swakopmund. Everywhere you look, you can see the German influence on the buildings. As you can see, the town was covered by thick fog which can linger around for hours, so I packed up my bags and headed north along the highway C34 to explore what's known as the Skeleton Coast. The Skeleton Coast here in Namibia gets its name from the many shipwrecks and whale skeletons that can be found along the stretch of its 310 miles of shoreline. The strong winds and currents, the unpredictable weather, and the fog that can linger over the coast have caused many ships to wreck. One of the most accessible of these wrecks is the Zila shipwreck that has become a landmark for tourists since it crashed in 2008. Continue up the coast for another hour and you'll arrive at the Cape Cross Seal Colony. The entrance to this reserve is $10 and upon entering you will see thousands of adult and baby fur seals. It is estimated that there are over 200,000 fur seals, making it one of the largest fur seal colonies in the world. After spending some time admiring these beautiful creatures, I continued my journey east to what ended up being one of my most favorite camping memories of the entire trip. 1.5 hours into my drive, these beautiful red mountains appeared right in front of my eyes, called the Spitzkoppe, known as the Matterhorn of Namibia. These jagged granite peaks shoot out of the ground upwards of 5,000 feet in the middle of a desert with no other mountains in sight. And you know what the best part is? The campsites that you can book here in Spitzkoppe cost only $12 per night and can be booked at spitzkoppe.com. There are roughly 20 campsites on a first-come first-served basis. This was my campsite that I stayed in, and I loved it so much I wish I had spent at least 2 days here. The beautiful sunset and sunrises, the opportunity to peek my head out of the tent that night and stargaze, and all of the cool rock formation I was able to climb made Spitzkoppe one of my favorite adventures here of this Namibia trip. The following morning, I started making my way towards Etosha National Park, one of the main reasons of my visit to Namibia. From Spitzkoppe, it is about a 5-hour drive to reach the Anderson Gate, the southern entrance to the park. I had stayed just outside of the park entrance on the first night in Etosha Trading Post, a beautiful property with beautiful campsites, a convenience store, and a petrol station. If you look around on this map, you will find a lot of lodge and hotel options near the southern entrance to Etosha National Park. The following morning, I set out bright and early on a self-drive safari to hopefully see as many animals as I could. The opening times of the Anderson Gate near the south entrance vary depending on the sunrise and sunset times, so check Etosha National Park's website for all the information. At the Anderson Gate, which opens at sunrise, you will need to register for a permit, so bring your passport or another form of identification. Once that's done, you will need to drive 20 minutes until you reach the town of Okakwejo. Here, you will need to pay for your park entrance fees, which are 150 Namibian dollars per person per day. Have a look around inside of the building as they have maps of the latest animal sightings around the park. You can also book your safari tours here with a guide, but I opted to try and find the animals by myself. As you begin to drive around the Etosha National Park, you will need to keep your eyes and ears peeled because the animals can appear just about anywhere. They can be hiding behind the bushes or popping their heads from behind a tree. Drive very slow and be patient. There's no way of telling where the best animal sightings will occur, so I recommend hanging out at the watering holes early in the morning or just before dawn. I was lucky enough to spot 2 male lions at the Olifantsbad waterhole, which is located 45 minutes east of Okakwejo. That same evening on a drive back, I spotted a black rhino hanging out in the bushes. I wanted to spend the second night inside of the Etosha National Park, so I booked a campsite within Halali Campsite, which you can book on NWR's website for around 460 Namibian Rand. The Halali camp is located somewhat in the middle of Etosha National Park. It has beautiful grounds with an on-site restaurant, a visitor center, and hot showers for those campers. But what makes staying inside of the national parks extra special is that most of the resorts, including Halali and Okakwejo resorts, have a watering hole with a viewing platform from which you can observe animals all night long. As you drive around Etosha, you will encounter many different species of animals. During my time, I saw a lot of zebras, giraffes with their babies, and other animals like wildebeests, springboks, and if you're lucky, perhaps even a cheetah. Be on the lookout for cars stopped on the side of the road, which may indicate that they themselves found an elusive animal. If after spending few days chasing around animals in Etosha National Park, you would still like to see more of these beautiful animals, you can visit one of the privately owned game reserves here in Africa. What makes these private reserves different from a traditional national park is less crowds and the knowledgeable guides that have worked with these animals for many years, so you'll be more likely to find animals like the elephant or the lion. As you start your drive back from Etosha National Park back to Windhoek, I recommend checking out the Erindi Game Reserve. This is one of the largest privately owned game reserves on the continent with diverse landscape, lots of unique animals, and incredibly luxurious lodge. This lodge was by far the priciest stay of my entire trip. It cost $250 per day per person, so if you're staying as a couple, it will cost you $500 per night. What you get for that, however, is a top-notch service. The beautiful rooms overlook a waterhole which animals visit throughout the day. The restaurant serves delicious breakfast, lunch, and dinner during the day, but most importantly, the restaurant overlooks another incredible waterhole where I saw many alligators and plenty of hippos. But the highlight of my stay here at Erindi were of course the guided safaris. With a team of knowledgeable guides, I had the pleasure to spend my morning and afternoon drives with Erwin. The tours cost $20 and can be booked with your stay on Erindi's website, where you can find all of the information about the lodging, the tours, and the history of this property. Throughout the course of our guided tours, I've learned so much about the animals and the landscape here in Namibia through Erwin's incredible stories. Both the morning and evening drives were so unique and different from one another, as I witnessed so many different species of animals. During our evening drive, we stumbled upon a giant male African elephant having a late night snack. A few moments later, we came upon a pride of lions. Seeing these lions so close in front of our truck gave us goosebumps. To be able to witness these majestic creatures in their natural habitat was so special. Plus, the two young lions having a playtime was a memory I will cherish for the rest of my life. After such a successful day of animal sightings, I didn't think things could get any better, but you know what they say, never say never. And sure enough, we tracked down 4 cheetahs who were just hanging out by the bushes. Before heading back to the lodge, we received a signal that a leopard was nearby. I have never seen one in person, so you can imagine how ecstatic I was. And there she was, a mother leopard hiding in a termite hill with her newborn baby. An unforgettable experience. After having spent over 10 beautiful days here in Namibia traveling all over the country, I can say this has been one of my favorite trips to date. Driving around this beautiful country on empty roads, taking in all the views, sleeping under the starry skies in the middle of the desert, and most importantly, all the beautiful animals I had the pleasure to see. Namibia is a country of vast riches just waiting to be discovered. Even with what felt like a packed itinerary, I only scratched the surface of what this country has to offer, but I hope that this video has encouraged you to come here and give it a try. If there are any other questions you still have, please leave me a comment and I'll do my best to help you out. Thank you so much for watching and supporting this channel, and I'll see you for my next adventure.